Hello and welcome to Up and About. I'm your host, Eniola Lunge. On Up and About, we actively pursue the development and the prosperity of the African continent. The show is transgenerational, and this means that we'll be sitting with business leaders across various industries and with varying levels of experience in order for us to leverage on the wealth of knowledge and experience that they have gathered over the years. This is the episode on the agricultural industry in Nigeria. And to help us do justice to that conversation, we have two amazing business owners, two amazing stakeholders in the agricultural industry in Nigeria. Please make welcome with me Lanre Osifeso. Oshifeso Olarinwaju is an experienced agriculturist with specialization in plantation farming, food processing, and consultancy. He has over 10 years' experience as an entrepreneur with a drive for private sector development. He is the initiator of Green Hills Cassava Farmstead Project, a project that will herald the establishment and support for over 4,000 farm owners in Nigeria. He started his career in petroleum trading before venturing into farming. He is the managing director of San Jose Farms Nigeria Limited. Welcome, Larry.
Thank you very much, Daniela.
So we have a second guest in the studio today. Please make welcome with me, Richie's Attai.
Attai Riches is the CEO and founder of Winich Farms, a top leading agri-tech platform. He has over 10 years of vast experience across accounting and agriculture. He holds a bachelor's degree in economics from the University of Benin. Winich Farms is an agri-tech company utilizing technology for the sole objective of providing continental food security in Africa. They are currently operative in Kebbi, Sokoto, Niger, Akwa Ibom, and Lagos.
Thank you so
Welcome,
much.
Richie.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming. Today we're going to be talking on the agricultural industry, and we're going to be talking about how you got started into in the business, what developments can take place in the industry so that we actually are at par with our global counterparts, and what exactly the government can do to just make sure that the industry is thriving. But before we go into the conversation for today, we are going to go on a short break, and we'll be right back. Welcome back. This is still Up and About. My name is Eniola, and in the studio with me, I have Lanre and Riches. Today, we're going to be going into the agricultural industry, and so we're just going to go straight into the conversation. So, I want to ask you, why farming, and how did you get into the business of farming? That's how you learn it.
Okay. Thank you very much, Aniola. Farming came as, how can I put this? It was a vision, and I had a dream about farming, and I just saw myself on this very large green expanse of
When you
land.
say a dream, was this like
A dream, like I literally was asleep.
Okay.
You understand?
Okay.
Yes, not a vision. Now I'm talking
Okay.
about a proper dream.
Okay.
Okay, and I had this dream. I saw myself. I mean, my family. On like this hilltop. All green. Like it was very beautiful scenery. So, prior to that, I mean, my dad had abandoned his farm. It was just there growing into like forest, kind of stuff. So I called him that morning, and I said, Dad, that cashew farm. He said, yes. I said, I want to start managing it. And he laughed. He said, Larry, because my father stays in Songwater. Yes. He said, Larry, you don't even come home to Songwater. And our farm is close to the Duroko border. That is like 2 hours away from Songwater. So you don't come to Songwater, you want to be going to the farm. You that I know, you can't survive the farming. So I told him, and I said, no, I'm interested in it. I want to see how that can go for me. And he accepted. Yeah.
Okay, so Riches, how did you get into farming?
Okay, so in 2014, I was still in the university. So I went to the University of Benin, and everyone who went to the University of Benin can attest to it that the majority of food being consumed in University of Benin, especially by the guys, was beans. Right. So I thought, how can I help make this a lot more easy for people to, prepare, right? So then it was in 2014. So I got a few of my friends, we came together, did the homework, and we thought, okay, we did a few study as to what are the challenges the students face, with regards to beans, and then we realized, okay, quite a number of them after doing, because I studied economics and statistics, so it was easy to gather statistics, right? So from the survey, we realized that a lot of people really do enjoy cooking beans, both male and female, in the University of Benin, maybe not outside, but the challenges they faced, one was the long time frame that it takes beans to get ready, and that's one. Another is the challenge of them having to pick the beans, and then another is the challenge of storage because of weevils and deaths. So we thought, okay, how can we make this easy? And that was when we decided to start up a company. Then it was called Attai's Beans. Okay, so what Attai's Beans was focused on was to have a ready to cook beans free of stone, preservatives, dirts, and as it's a well packaged beans where you just open it and then you don't have to go through any stress. You just put it in your pot and then begin to cook. So in 2015, we decided to start. I was in 300 level then. So for a fact, I had to struggle with my academics and business, at the time, right? So it was a venture worth taking all out for, So we printed nylons, it was so relatively capital intensive because we didn't have machinery, so we had to employ fellow students to, pick the beans, and then we packaged it, so we got, before we knew, just a few months later, we had our beans in various stores around school, the packaged beans around school. And I mean, it was so beautiful that my classmates were very excited that, oh, it's one of their
Yeah,
classmates
exactly.
whose products they are seeing everywhere. uh 400 level, I graduated, and I thought, oh, if I could start this and it became so beautiful, I think I can also improve on, since we know what the challenges were, improve on it and get better. Okay, so I decided, okay, why not I go to the north? So myself and my co-founder, we decided to go to the north, and get to cultivate the beans for ourselves, because prior to then, we used to purchase from wholesalers, and thought, okay, why don't we cultivate the beans ourselves? And that would help us increase revenue, reduce cost. And we thought, okay, let's go. So we got to the north, and then we did, first it was 10 hectares we did for, and we spent quite a lot of money. And I tell you for a fact that because we were new into it, we burnt our fingers.
I love what like you have. We felt like story was
No.
Ha 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 ha.
Beans. I was just waiting for you to
Beans.
say that that beans story, that was very innovative. Well done, my bro. Well
Thank you.
done.
But we're going to come back straight away. Just a short break. I will be right back. Don't go anywhere.
I mean, when I started farming, a lot of my friends were looking at me like, dude, what are you doing? You get me? Because they see farming, when you tell someone, if I meet someone, I say I'm a farmer, right? I said, this is the point where you run away.
Did you know? 1. 40% of the world's population is in the agricultural industry. 2. Dairy cows produce up to 18,750 gallons of milk in their lifetime. 3. 1 acre of soybeans can produce 82,368 crayons. 4. Globally, 70% of all farmers are women. 5. China, United States of America, and India produce the most food. Now you know.
Welcome back. This is still up and about. My name is Eniola Lunge, and I have in the studio with me to discuss the agricultural industry in Nigeria. Two amazing visionaries in the agricultural space. We have Lanre Osifeso as well as Richard Attai. What does mechanized farming look like in Nigeria at the moment? So, Larry, do you want to go first?
Okay, thank you, Eniola. Mechanized farming. First, let us define mechanized farming. I mean, for those who might not even understand what we're talking about, right? This is basically the process of using machines, you know, to do basic work, on the farm, and which is good because invariably it, increases the productivity of the farm workers. You see, so that definition basically means mechanized farming rather is um, a better method, better practice, in farming operations. Of course, because when you're talking about mechanized farming, you're talking about achieving timelines in your operations. You're talking about it encourages large scale farming, farmers yield, labor and all of that. Yes, you see, so it's it's always advisable to do. I mean, most people run that route now, and I mean with the farming, I mean, you see, there's been a revolution in the agri sector. So people going into the agricultural sector now are informed, enlightened, have some kind of exposure. Either so it's not the business as usual. Do you feel me? So I mean, guys are going into agricultural space. I think can put in this money into this business. It should multiply. You feel me? They're not just because then when people used to say, I mean, when I started farming, a lot of my friends were looking at me like, dude, what are you doing? You get me? Because they see farming, when you tell someone, if I meet someone, I say I'm a farmer, right? I said this is the point where you run away because you feel automatically, they just assume farmers are exactly, they are really not celebrated. It's like you see, I'm a teacher. And do you get me? Then not until you realize that he's a teacher, maybe BIS. Do you understand? Do you get me? But yes, if you so there's that, but with the mechanization in Nigeria, let me put it that way, there's been um, some kind of efforts by farmers now, especially the new farmers, to start up because everyone wants to maximize whatever yield they're producing. They want to maximize whatever input they put into the farm. They want to get the best results. And right now, even most people are thinking not just farming to eat as it was back then. They're thinking, we're producing not just for myself now, we're producing for the market. You see, so you have to come up with specifications because the market will not just buy any kind of goods. Like he mentioned, his beans, right? When you farm and you bring out poor, quality or substandard produce, right? It's not accepted in the market. It's just basic, right? You just have the people that want to eat, and will price you cheap, that kind of thing. So, people, farmers have that information now. They have that knowledge now, right? So they are working. They are very conscious of everything they do on the farms. How did you see? Yes, there's still a bit of manual labor going on the farm. Not even a bit. I still do a lot of major manual labor, but most of our operations is mechanized. Most of, I mean, when you're large scale, then and you're you're a commercial farm, then commercialized farm, then you have to make it mechanized. Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. So I'm sure you already, you're into the conversation. And if you were not even thinking of, starting your own agri business before, this should get you thinking, like, what am I really doing in my life? What's going on? So I hope that you're being hit by, bursts of inspiration in this moment because there is money to be made. There is value to be given. There is, impact to be made in the lives of people around you. And I think that that's the way we should start to think. But, before we go on into the show, let's go to a quick break and we'll be right back.
Growing at a very steady pace, and it's one of the things that we at Winnie Trans were doing, to drive, mechanized agriculture down to the grassroots.
How to succeed in the industry. 1. Develop a thoughtful plan. 2. Identify your target audience. 3. Get the right farming equipment. 4. Manage your cash flow. 5. Learn, ask questions, and share your knowledge.
Welcome back. This is still Up and About. I'm Eniola Lunge, your host, and we still have our two guests in the studio talking about the agricultural sector in Nigeria. And of course, those are, Lanre Osifeso as well as Richie's Attai. So before we went on a break, Richie was about to answer the mechanized farming question. So Richie, let's go.
Okay, thank you once again for having me. Okay, so for mechanized agriculture, I would say it's growing in Nigeria, okay, but at a very steady pace, right? So it's not exactly been highly embraced, So for the rural smallholder farmer, if there is something very particular about them, is the fact that they are slow to change, right? So you need to convince them first that what you are providing works, the solution you're providing works, before they get to embrace it. Okay, so just imagine a man who has been using his hoe and cutlass for probably 50 years, and then you're coming to tell him, don't use the hoe and cutlass that you've been using for 50 years. Come use a tractor. Okay, he wouldn't believe, that it would produce an even better result because he will tell you, oh, my parents did this till they passed on, and they've got the kind of result they got. I've been doing it for 50 years, you know. But like I said, it's growing at a very steady pace, and it's one of the things that we at Winnie Farms were doing, to drive, mechanized agriculture down to the grassroots, letting them know that with mechanized agriculture, you can get, the best of output and results with less time, less energy, right? And it's one of the things that we have done aggregating. Currently, we have over 1,091 farmers who are strictly using mechanized agriculture, and they're focused on rice cultivation, and that's why we have our family rice, right, in the market. So I would really like the viewers to, test and see. I can get you.
Now, when each farm is the deal.
It can match international standard and even
Wow.
floor them, right? And
And
we're
that,
Good
that is
stuff. Good
definitely
stuff.
worthy.
Good
we're
stuff.
currently working on a project of 120 tons per day rice processing
Per
plant,
day.
right?
Wow.
It hasn't come to fruition yet,
It's going to
but
come.
right, I'm confident about that. I'm confident about that, and of course, a very huge kudos to our amazing team. A lot of sleepless nights go into the success that people get to see,
Wow.
and I guess that's all about mechanized farming.
Wow.
Good
I,
stuff.
like, I didn't even know that it was this interesting sweet farmer. I'm inspired.
Hmm.
That's why I just drove
Let
this
me
race.
cut you. They are.
I know. Okay, so now,
So,
okay.
so don't kind of think
Larry, please don't
it's
cut
all
us
bed
off.
of roses, man.
Right.
Okay, so now, so let us walk through the pain points that you have experienced as farmers. So yes, this is the last question for today. So go for it.
I would say personally, I mean, I've not really had any personal experience. I've been very fortunate. I've had people tell stories. In fact, because you know how the farm is, especially when you are in the outskirts of Lagos or in other states, and you have surrounding farms around your farm. And farmers come to tell you, attacks of cattle herdsmen. You know, um, I mean, a friend of mine had cows go on his farm. In fact,
Wow.
not cows. Let me even tell you. Let me tell you what happened. The cows were just around walking, yeah, while the headers were uprooting his cassava tubers.
Really?
Not stealing, confidently. I mean, it's their right.
Taking it.
Yes, they're taking it, right? And they were not taking the tubers to to eat or to sell or to do anything. They were taking the tubers to feed their cows. So they would chop it, and feed their cattle with it. So is that not
Somebody's
someone's
hard
work,
work.
someone's money, someone's sweat? And so he came to me that this is what happened on his farm. How can we try to get these guys arrested, etc. And I thought about it. I told him, I said, look, man, that these guys, I'm sorry to say, but these guys are untouchable. I mean, you see, that's just one of the downsides. We need. So I've been very fortunate personally. I've not really had any experience, but I mean, when you talk about downsides, I can keep going. Because I remember the first time I went to the bank with my plan and I with all the business plans and and they looked at me and said, yeah, what do you have? And I said collateral. So what's the value of the farm? I told them it was correct at that time. The farm, even though it was a jungle, was about 2 billion. You see, and I told them that this thing is this, and they're like, "Yo, I can't even talk to you right now. If you can't bring me something, land and this, that, and we can't even be going to that place. Who's going to be monitoring your farm in Umbo? Who's going to be doing this?
Don't you
And
have branches in like
so, Eniola, when you talk about my pain, I'm
okay.
sharing my
I'm
pain.
just
You
like,
understand? I'm sharing my
what's
pain.
their problem?
So you're now feeling my pain.
I'm like, yes,
Exactly.
give me, you know, you business.
So you see, these are kind of things we experience, and so we need that support. And the government's policy too is discouraging. I'm sorry, let me just round up with it. The policies the government make is not always,
Favorable
not
or
that it's not.
applicable.
No, it's favorable at that point in time for the government in power.
Okay.
We are not consistent in this country, and that's sad true. That's why everyone is trying to go to Canada and all this other places because you can't really plan. You see, I had investors from in Europe that wanted to come onto our cashew farm. This was in 2016 when I just started farming. They were going to come. I was discussing with one lady, Mrs. Echo, great chief. I got to the investors. Everyone was ready to come, and we had done the feasibility of what we're going to do in the feasibility study, and it was time for the investment. But the naira started to crash. That was when, remember that period that naira was going to about 500, the dollar, and there was prediction I was going to hit 1,000.
Wow.
Yes, and they said they can't, because how do you want to,
Even the
Cushion
profit that they
it.
will
yes,
make will be
how do
cut
you,
off.
if we put in £1,000, let's just assumption, if you put in £1,000 into this business, or $1,000 into this business, and your naira was at 400, when we're pulling out and your naira is at 1,000,
Or
then
800.
then what happens? How do you manage that? You see, then also today a president can come in and say, oh, I want everybody manufacturing, every bakery, every baker to use
Cassava
cassava
flour.
flour. You see, the President Jonathan pressed on that in 2011. Everyone should use cassava flour. But now, then there would be a ban. Of course, there will be a ban of other, flour, kind of flours, wheat, and all that stuff. Because he wants to promote cassava flour, which is trying to promote Nigeria. But then, the new government will come in, or someone else will come in, or it doesn't just last. Now there is, look at what Greenwich is doing, rice. The government has they placed a ban
Ban
on
on
rice
rice
importation,
importation, right?
right? This government will go out. So another 8 years, I mean another a few more years,
Few
there
more
will
years,
be
right?
even a new government can come in and
Allow
and I'll
rice
say, oh,
importation.
my auntie used to bring in rice. That was how we even made money in the first place. Why would they even say no rice, and allow rice? Meanwhile, Greenwich has seen an opportunity. They're banning rice. They banned rice. Okay, let us make heavy investments into rice production, and then they tax the production. And then one government comes and now starts saying bring in rice, and they don't start bringing in all sorts of rice, and then we need
The
stranded.
prices falls.
God forbid.
So Richard, let's
So
hear your
yeah.
own pain point.
Okay, thank you so much. So prior to 2020, when I get to engage people and they say, uh, tell me something about Winich Farms, I get to tell them, count us on our losses rather than our gains. And the reason is because we had little or no losses at the time. Okay, however, with the pandemic, the agriculture sector is expected to have boomed, so much. However, that wasn't exactly the case, right? Because at the time, we had a project, an onion farm project, right? And we already had an off-taker because before we engage on any cultivation, we already have the ready off-taker who would come take the product. So we already had an off-taker of a cosmetic company resident in Kano who were going to off-take the onion for their production process, and we had all that signed in 2019. So we're all just supposed to cultivate. As soon as we were done harvesting, they come take up the product. However, as soon as the pandemic came in 2020, few weeks before or a few months before we were supposed to supply them, they reached out to us and said, okay, we will still accept you supply us. However, we wouldn't be able to keep to our end of the bargain of paying you within the stipulated time. We would have to extend it, and it was quite challenging for us because we had investors who, were supposed to attend to, so it was a pain point, and that's on the one hand. On the other hand, with the emergence of the pandemic, some of the farmers weren't even sure what it was, so they were even scared to even go to the farms, so because they were scared, nobody was standing for the farm as such. As a result of that, the kind of losses that we had not experienced, we experienced that. So there was a fall in the harvested products that was expected. And then with the pandemic and then the whole lockdown, it was expected that agro produce that is a necessity was supposed to be given the free hands to move because people would want to eat, but with the lockdown, we had challenges transporting the produce. Remember, the off-taker who was supposed to take the onion couldn't keep to their end of the agreement, and we couldn't supply them because we had investors that we needed to attend to. So we now had to take the burden of having to sell this product ourselves, and this was in the middle of the pandemic, right? So we had to, of course, we of Winnie Farms, we had a project, a 5-year plan that we already had, and in the 5-year plan, towards the last quarter of this year, we were supposed to launch our app. Okay, but with the emergence of the pandemic, we had to push that forward. So the team had to work extra hard to ensure that the app was ready before the last quarter, and we had to now introduce e-retailing on our platform. We launched the app. So on our website and app, we now had to look for ways to, sell this onion and other agro produce on the app. We had to look for how to innovate around this challenge. So it was a pain point because at the end of it, not only did we, because onion is a very perishable commodity, so we lost quite a number of the products. We did lose quite a number of them. However, I mean, we had series of meetings with our investors, letting them know what the situation is. Of course, we had some persons that were not pleased, which is normal, but some persons who have been with us from inception knew, we know your standard operating process and we know you guys are true to what you do, but then that's our own pain point. But we're recovering from it, because with the introduction of our app, we now have agro produce sold retailly. If you can stay at the comfort of your home using the app, and order for agro produce, and then it will be delivered to you at the comfort of your home. So that's basically the challenge and how we have been able to.
So yeah, thank you guys so much for coming on the show today. So before you go, we have a little game that we usually play. And so the game is taboo. Have you played taboo before?
Not heard about it.
Never. So it's a word game. So just think charades but with words. So I'm going to try to get you to guess the word. It's pretty simple actually. And so the person who guesses the word first is the winner. So there are 3
Interesting.
cards. So it's 2. The person who gets 2 out of 3 wins. So are you ready?
Right.
Richie. Lanre, are you ready?
Go ahead, please.
Okay. What animal slash insect produces honey?
P.
Correct.
Okay.
Exactly.
Pause.
Exactly. Very easy. The laughing game. Okay, number 2. So after planting season, what do you do? The next season is what?
After planting season.
Yeah. Somebody should answer, please.
Well,
Somebody.
Harvest.
Correct.
Okay.
Is that a whale? What word did you answer? What do you mean by
oh, Jen,
whale?
okay, I'm catching up.
What do you say whale?
Because when you said planting season,
Uh-huh.
planting
I mean, I
season,
answered harvest because the
planting,
Bible
no, you
says
don't say.
when you plant, you harvest.
No, yes, but see, no, if you said after planting, what do you do? Then I would understand. But if you say planting season,
What do you do? I said what did I say? I said what do you do? Okay, let's see if you're like okay, one.
no, I'm not. I'm not.
No, you're not the answer.
All right, cool.
So this is your redemption plan. So Riches, please. If you know the answer, just quickly.
No.
Okay. So, where do people that produce food work?
People that produce food.
Farm.
Larry, what are you processing?
You've given him this guy. You gave this guy the answers. You gave this guy the answers.
Like,
No, people that produce food.
Work on the farm. Correct. Are you sure you're not?
Yes. Why you say produce food?
Like the chefs.
No,
like
yeah, in the processing company.
Oh, so
That's
they
my
work at
thought.
a plant.
Yeah, like you understand.
You didn't
Like,
say anything. Did you
no, so that's what I'm wondering. Like,
it's
like.
not a processing game, is it? Answer
All right,
game.
no worries,
Alright, so
man.
I
Nice one.
win Larry. Attai. Winning on the game and in the business. Also Larry as well. Thank you so much guys for coming on the show today. I didn't even expect that I would get so much insight and revelation. So you guys working in the agricultural sector in Nigeria. But I think that the lessons that you have shared here today are cross sectoral. I just hope you watching wherever you're watching from, you are able to take the advice, the lessons, and just the experience, in the business and apply it to whatever situation that you find yourself in currently. So thank you so much once again for watching. I'll see you same time next week. Have a good week.